Welcome back to the Levy Effect. Alright. First. Let's just talk about how we doing. We're gonna talk about some things going around in the industry. Yeah. Things going around in the industry. Firstly, Club 27. What is it? Why is everybody worried about it, you know?
Pamela saw Morrison more as a 27 Club isn't a place, nor is it an actual club to begin with. It's a collection of musicians and other famous people who have died at the age of 27. Before the 27 Club became a thing, it actually stretched years prior into the 1800s. But in 1969 was when the term 27 Club first appeared in an article written about the death of the Rolling Stones guitarist Brian Jones in Rolling Stone magazine. It has since become a legendary coincidence and quote-unquote club ever since. With other musicians dying just before or just after the age of 27, 27 years seems to be the certain age musicians and famous people living in the fast lane unfortunately meet the ends of their lives. Now, as the list of the members of the 27 Club is quite long, we are going to go through a majority of them. We're going to stop at some of the more bigger and notable names and read a little bit about their lives and their final days on Earth and figure out why they passed at such an early age. The very first member of the 27 Club is Alexander Levy. He died January 17th, 1892, and he was a Brazilian composer,
Alexander Levy. If you watch and look at this, Levy, it's crazy, like, but they pronounce it Levy, but it's spelled Levy. Spelled Levy. But this motherfucker old as fuck. Does anybody know who he is though? Guitarist,
pianist, and conductor. And starting at the age of 16, he was composing music on the piano, and he infused classical styles with Brazil's folk and rhythms. His cause of death is undetermined. Robert Johnson, born May 8th, 1911, died August 16th, 1938. The legendary and mysterious blues guitarist and singer, he is known as the man who created rock and roll, the great-grandfather of rock and roll.
This guy, grandfather of rock and roll, I know about this guy. This guy says he, sold his soul to the devil just to, play the guitar, and he sold it as a crossroad. I believe it's
roll. He started out mostly performing on street corners and juke joints, as he had little to no recognition as he was alive. What has kept his music alive to this day is from the 2 recording sessions he did with Country Hall of Fame producer Don Law, in which 29 songs along with 13 alternate takes were recorded in a room with just Robert Johnson and his guitar. Robert Johnson is best known for the legendary story that he met the devil who gave him his talent at a crossroad near the plantation he lived on at midnight. It's said the devil took his guitar, tuned it, played some songs, then returned it back to Robert, thus making Robert a master of the blues. His death was documented by fellow blues musician Sonny Boy Williamson, who was with Robert when Robert was playing a few weeks at a country dance. It was known that Robert was flirting with a married woman, and a jealous husband had poisoned a drink that his wife offered Robert. Williamson knocked the drink from Robert's hand, telling him not to drink from a bottle he didn't. Within the next few days, Robert was in immense 1960 from a car crash. Vocalist for the Drifters, Rudy Lewis, died May 26, 1969, from overdosing on sleeping pills. Rolling Stones founder and guitarist Brian Jones, born February 28, 1942, died July 3, 1969. Playing the London blues and jazz scene in the early 1960s, Jones found himself around many legendary musicians that were just starting their come-up, from Paul Jones, Eric Clapton, and Jack Bruce. 1962, with fellow bandmates, he formed the Rolling Stones. Through lots of hard times, by 1969, he wasn't fit to tour with the rest of the band due to his mood swings, drug and alcohol use, and was asked to leave the band. Weeks before his death, he was planning on putting together a new band and had recorded some demos. Jones had bought and found residence at Cochford Farm, which its prior owner was A. Milne, the author of the Winnie the Pooh books. At midnight during the night of July 2nd and early morning of July 3rd, 1969, Jones was found motionless at the bottom of his pool by his girlfriend, and he was pronounced dead by the time the doctors took him to the hospital. His cause of death was ruled as drowning, but the coroner report states death by misadventure. Brian Jones's death set off a whole idea of the 27 Club, as the 70s hit with immensely talented rock and roll musicians dying at the age of 27. German vocalist Alexandra died July 31st, 1969, from a car crash. Getting into the 1970s, leader, singer, and co-founder for the blues band Canned Heat.
Alright, that's enough of that. So, the whole theory of 27 Club is artists who die at the age of 27. And if you look on your good old trusty Wikipedia, like, get a list of them. Basically, oh shit. Basically, you can find them. Look, Rudy Lewis from the Drifters, Brian James, Jimi Hendrix. You know, I don't know. These people, you know, a lot of them. It's not really many recent ones, except like the Fredo Santana. This dude Kim Jong Un. You know, people like that. You know. But like, the real crazy stuff, the real spooky stuff of like 2024 is the whole industry and hidden secrets and stuff of Mr.
Did he invited me over for dinner a couple months ago?
Shit, yeah, I saw
exactly.
that.
He told.
So I don't know about like all these stories, but a lot of them could pretty much be true. What y'all think about the whole situation?
Told me, he gave me a piece of advice. He said, I've been documenting everything in my life since 1992 or whatever it was. He's like, I have footage of everything.
You already know what it is. It's your boy Laid Back with another reaction, another review.
Right? The whole stuff. The whole things.
We are all waiting right now to see if federal prosecutors indict Sean Diddy Combs, the rapper, the producer, the music mogul. This comes after federal authorities, more specifically Homeland Security agents, raided Combs' two properties out in Miami and L.A. This is reportedly pursuant to an ongoing investigation from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. Reports indicate that this centers around sex trafficking, which we're going to discuss a little bit more in a minute. But we don't know what federal investigators are actually looking for. We don't know for sure Combs' connection to all this. And of course, Combs has not been arrested or criminally charged at the time of this recording. However, based upon the allegations in the lawsuits that were filed against Combs in the past several months, which may have prompted or fueled this criminal investigation, and based on what sources are saying regarding the raids and what was collected from the homes, this is going to be my best guess so far at what potential charges prosecutors may be considering. And I'm only going to focus on federal charges since it seems the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York is spearheading this case. This is the feds. So first, let's talk about what seems to be very obvious potential charges: sex trafficking. Now, there are a few statutes that could come into play here. We have 18 U.S.C. Section 1591, sex trafficking of children or by force, fraud, or coercion. So this is when someone knowingly, meaning consciously, they understand what they're doing here, when someone knowingly, through interstate or foreign commerce, usually that means crossing state lines, recruits, entices, harbors, transports, provides, obtains, advertises, maintains, patronizes, or solicits by any means a person for the purposes of commercial sex, or if the defendant benefits from this too. And Commercial Sex Act is when you give something of value in exchange for a sex act, usually through force or threats or fraud or coercion. And of course, this statute includes if the person being trafficked is a minor. Now, if the victim was under the age of 14 or a fraud, force, or coercion were used, the penalty is not less than 15 years in prison up to life. If the victim was...
But that's 6 months ago.
It's a shocking fall from grace. In less than a year, P. Diddy went from beloved music icon to disgraced sexual predator, at least according to the charges from the feds. Right now, he's behind bars in New York, the same place where just last...
Bro, they had Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar was freaking saying, it's not a crime for having baby oil. It's Diddy ain't do what they ain't showed not one indicting thing in the case by other than his sexuality and stuff. I was like, bro, what do you mean? Like, people are coming out saying they been drugged and raped by this dude. Like, how is that not illegal to you? Like, why are you saying it? But he had to be trolling.
He was given a key to the city.
Had to be trolling.
It was a disturbing set of allegations that led to Diddy's arrest in the way of multiple civil suits brought by accusers. And in some of those suits, co-defendants are listed, and in others, celebrities. Could it be a time of reckoning for them too? We're taking a deep dive into all the celebrities listed in Diddy's civil lawsuits and whether they too could face federal charges. I'm Sierra Gillespie, and this is Law and Crime News. A groundbreaking case brought forth just this week when 54-year-old Sean Diddy Combs was arrested on September 15th. He now faces some pretty serious federal charges: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Diddy was indicted by a federal grand jury and is now being held in Brooklyn at the Metropolitan Detention Center after he was twice denied bail. Diddy's attorneys say he was in New York for about a week before the arrest, anticipating the federal indictment. But he wasn't the only one who kind of saw this coming. After federal investigators raided two of Diddy's homes back in March, we kind of had an idea something was on the way. Just this week, we learned some of the items that investigators collected during those raids of Diddy's homes in both Miami and Los Angeles. According to the indictment against Diddy,
Baby
investigators
oil,
seized
course.
more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and
Exactly.
lubricants from his homes. The court doc states that these items were used in something referred to as freak-offs, which were elaborate and produced sex performances that
That's
Combs
wild,
arranged,
bro.
directed, masturbated
Freak-offs are
during,
just
and often
so funny
electronically
to me, man.
recorded. According to prosecutors, Diddy and his associates
funny to
transported
me, bro.
commercial sex workers over state lines and even internationally. Diddy then allegedly gave these sex workers and victims controlled substances, at times unbeknownst to the victims. Prosecutors say Diddy did this to keep the victims obedient and compliant. He then took videos of victims having sex with these sex workers, sometimes without their consent. After all this, both Diddy and the victims would receive IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. Federal investigators say that during the raids of Diddy's homes, they collected some of these recordings showing the disturbing details actually assaulted him and forced Lil Rod to have sex with a prostitute, Gooding Jr., while they were on Mr. Combs' yacht. The lawsuit includes pictures of this too, showing both Diddy with Cuba and then Cuba with his arms around Little Rod. Court docs go on to say, quote, Cuba Gooding Jr. began touching, groping, and fondling Mr. Jones's legs, his upper inner thighs near his groin, and the small of his back, near his buttocks and his shoulders. He rejected his advances, and Mr. Gooding Jr. did not stop until Mr. Jones forcibly pushed him away. Here's former
Nah, that's
prosecutor
wild,
Melba
bro.
Pearson.
Wait
In the
a
last
minute.
couple of years,
Come
there
on,
were
bro. Wait a minute. Bruh. Cuban Gooden Jr., what's the movie, the boat movie? God dang, bruh. Like, you tripping, bruh. Stop rubbing on people, bruh. Like, what? Get your little nasty ass on somewhere. Why you over here trying to touch on people? Yo, man, said, boosh. I done messed some shit up on my layout. The fuck just happened? Yeah, so Diddy is just fucking wild, bro. I seen the video of Meek Mill also fucking just crying and shit, but whatever. Still getting used to this streaming stuff, man. Oh damn. I done lost my chat box anyway. Yeah.
Allegations against him for sexual assault. So now we have those prior allegations, and now we see him tied to this case as allegedly trying to, assault a Little Rod, assault others.
Back in 2019, Cuba was booked on misdemeanor charges of forcible touching and sexual abuse.
Plea of a lesser charge. A year later, you settled a federal civil lawsuit, 2 more civil misconduct lawsuits. Can you understand why some would say, don't want to cast this guy?
Sure, but I can also understand some people who come up to me in the street all the time and yell, show me the money, and say, hang in there, and I see what you're going through. You know, you make movies for an audience of people, right? So right now, I'm making a movie for faith-based people who are excited to renew our hope in humanity, especially the times we're in, dealing with politics and the world issues that are going on. The end result, it'll be to make me stronger, to be a better person, to be a better father, you know? And right now, that's the moment I'm in.
Back to Melba. She says it's possible that charges could be brought against the actor.
I'm getting the feeling where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Because now we have two different instances where you're accused of the same type of behavior, you know, years apart. I think there's something there. And I don't know that Cuba Gooding Jr. is going to escape from that one, because he already saw definitely people moving away from him within Hollywood circles and other circles once those first sexual assault allegations came out. So at this point, I don't think he's going to get away with it a second time.
Is it possible that he could face charges based on these allegations that were brought forward by Lil Rod?
It is possible as well. Again, we've got the statute of limitations issue to deal with. So depending on the time frame of when this happened is, you know, again, the Adult Survivors Act, which was the vehicle where many of these lawsuits came out, many of these civil suits came out, there was a finite amount of time for those suits to be filed. The time frame is going to be very, very important. What witnesses come forward, because again, you know, this may not be a situation where DNA may be at play. This may be more of a situation of, hey, yes, I was there and I recall, you know, Cuba Gooding Jr., you know, putting his hands on Little Rod, or I recall certain aspects. So it's going to be a very he may be okay.
Another celebrity mentioned in Lil Rod's lawsuit is Young Miami, who dated Diddy from 2021 to 2023. According to the lawsuit, Young Miami's cousin assaulted Lil Rod during the Thanksgiving holiday in 2022. It reads, quote, Young Miami's cousin burst into the bathroom and began groping Mr. Jones. She started undressing and attempted to straddle him and have sex with him in the presence of Mr. Combs and his staff. Similar to Prince Harry, there are no allegations against Young Miami herself, so there's probably no worry of charges being filed against her. But there could be charges against some of the other people listed in Lil Rod's lawsuit. That's people like Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Coram, who Lil Rod compares to Ghislaine Maxwell, the longtime companion of Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein died by suicide in 2019 when he faced numerous charges of sexual assault over the course of multiple years. Maxwell was charged and found guilty of sex trafficking in relation to her time with Epstein, and she's currently serving a lengthy prison sentence. Lil Rod says Christina Coram ordered sex workers and prostitutes for Mr. Combs,